Diane in Denmark here. We are in my kitchen, but we're not cleaning, we're not decluttering. This is just another, just for fun videos. I'm going to be making a very classic Danish cake. It's called Mazarinkage, and the main ingredient is, ta-da, marzipan. The Danes love their marzipan, and they also love licorice, which I'm not so keen on. Anyway, I love marzipan as well. And I said to you the other day, we've got guests coming. It's the autumn school holiday week here in Denmark. And my friend, my best friend, and his partner and his two small kids are coming to stay with us for the whole weekend. So I've been getting the place ready. And I wanted to make a Danish cake for them. Now, I haven't made this cake for a while. It was one of those things, you know, where you make the cake all the time. You take it to all the parent parties and school functions, and then you kind of go off a bit. So I haven't actually made it in this, I changed mixer, oh gosh, probably about a year ago. So I'm not quite sure how it's going to work out in here. But anyway, the main thing is, if you want to try making it, go ahead. It's a very traditional Danish recipe, so it's very basic, but I'll go through the ingredients with you if you want to kind of play along. Let me just move, right, okay, and I've got them lined up here. So first of all, marzipan, lots of marzipan. As I said, the Danes love marzipan, and they use marzipan in a lot of their baking. Lots of lovely Danish butter, yes, so don't fall off your perch. We're going to be using some good ingredients here, but you can just cut very small slices of the cake. It's very Moorish. Sugar, just basic sugar. Eggs, large, small, whatever you have, it doesn't really matter. And plain flour. I know that was one of the things that confused me when I first came here. I'm British and I'm kind of used to self-raising flour, and then in Denmark you only get, you know, plain flour. So if I was using a British recipe, I always had to remember and, you know, add baking powder, a teaspoon for each 150 grams. Anyway, plain flour. And listen, if you only have self-raising, it'll be fine. Don't, you know, it's not a kind of perfection cake here. Just use what you've got and it'll all come out all right. And I'm just going to switch on the oven so it's warming up. And it is to be, let me see, 150 centigrade, which is 300 Fahrenheit. Yeah. Did you know that the centigrade, the Celsius, that scale was actually invented by Anders Celsius, a Swede? There's a little fact that I picked up when I was at my Swedish evening class, because, you know, we have to read these texts, and I didn't know it was Anders Celsius that came up with the, you know, 0 to 100, and actually he had 100 was freezing and 0 was boiling, and somebody else changed it. Anyway, on with the cake, you know, sidetracked, what? And obviously we're going to be using a tin, and I'll just check here. The original recipe that I had said 24 centimetres. Let me just check that. 24 centimetres. If you're using imperial, you know, like in the Dark Ages, that's like 9.5 inches. But the one that I've got, because all my tins now are IKEA standard size, is 20 centimetres, which is about 8 inches. It really doesn't make much difference. Just if you're using a bigger tin, of course it's going to be flatter, and you won't want to cook it so much. You know, you don't want this cake being dry. Anyway, it's very simple because we're going to pop the whole thing in the mixer and just blast it. Just get my chopping board and let me take off the meringue, because I like meringue, but it's not great for when I'm cooking. And I've already washed my hands, so that is done. And what else can I tell you? Oh yeah, I told you all the ingredients. Well, let me just get a knife. Oh, hold on, I should get my pinny on, shouldn't I? Got my pinny on. Right, let's see how long it takes, because I've been telling you about it for about 4.5 minutes. And it's really super simple, this. You could make it, you know, by hand without a mixer, but it would take you a long time. I've never tried it that way. The reason I was attracted to this recipe was because it was one of these things that you can dump in the mixer and just let it rip. So first of all, I'm going to take the marzipan, and let me see, just check how much it was. And there we are. And I want about 250 grams. eyeballing it here. Yay, okay, 257. I'll take a wee slice off and I'll eat that. And then, and you know, if you were doing this by hand, you could grate the marzipan, but all we need to do is just chop it up a wee bit so it goes in the mixer. If I tried to put this in the mixer in one big lump, the knife wouldn't catch it, so I'm just popping in the marzipan. And you're going to be seeing a lot of marzipan because we also use it at Christmas in Denmark to make little sweets, you know, homemade sweets, and we'll be doing that in December. Right, so that is the marzipan in. And then the next thing is we're going to put in the butter. And life was so much simpler about 5 years ago when, you know, butter always came in a standard pack of 250 grams. So let me just tell you, that's it was 10 ounces of marzipan, 250 grams, and the same of butter. But this is a pack of 200 grams because in Denmark they introduced a tax on fat in order to try, well, they were hoping that people would eat less fat. She says, standing here with 2 huge packs of butter. So suddenly the firms, you know, the price went up of butter because there was extra tax on it. And the firms, you know, who were making these, they didn't change the price that you paid, they just gave you less. So when you were cooking and, you know, you would be used to like 200 grams, 250, and suddenly you've only got 200. So anyway, they took off that tax, but they haven't given us more butter back. So anyway, I'm just eyeballing it again, because that should be about 50. Let me see. But basically you want the same amount of butter and marzipan. Hold on. Okay. Yay, okay. So I've got 250 grams of butter. And it's easiest if you take your butter out probably about half an hour or an hour before you do it, just to make it a little bit softer. But it's all going in the machine. Right, get that in. Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how this kitchen mixer copes with it, because it's a wee bit smaller than the one I had before. But hey ho, let's go. If it all goes terribly wrong, I'll just delete this. I'll just delete this video. Right, so that's sugar and butter, 250 grams or 10 ounces of each. And then the sugar. Let's see, and 250 grams, 10 ounces of that, surprise, surprise. Just measure out. 250. Shake, 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 shake. Yeah, 250. I'll do it. Boom. Just pour that on top. Okay, I'm going to plug in now. If you don't like loud noises, leave the room. Yeah, it needs a wee bit more. Yeah, and when it starts doing that kind of wall of death, you know, like the motorbike that goes round, once you see that start happening, you're almost there. Right, next thing is I'm going to add the eggs. Excellent. Okay, uno, dos, tres. Let me just wash my hands after using the eggs. Right, a wee towel. Okay, and then I'm just going to pop on the lid and give it a wee swirl around. Hold on, that didn't move. There we go. One on again. That's better. Okay, so we've got marzipan, butter, sugar, eggs, and the last thing is some flour. And there's not much, we're not adding much, oh sorry, that's sugar. That's why I like to have these things lined up so I don't forget anything. Right, last one is, and let me just check it, I think it was 125 grams of flour, so we're using half flour to what we had of the other stuff. And 125 grams, that's 5 ounces. Remember, like 1 tablespoon is 25 grams or 1 ounce. That's what my granny taught me anyway. Here we are. Okay, so that's the last thing that's going in is the flour. Right, lid on. Yeah, there's not as much space as there was in my other blender, but I think it's all right. Really good. Okay, now I always line my tin with a wee bit of baking paper. Remember, don't use Danish packed lunch paper because they ain't got any grease on it. And there are 2 reasons I like to line my tin. Is one, I don't like, you know, that thing where you take the, you know, like when my mum makes cakes, she uses the piece of buttery paper to do inside, and then a wee bit of, I just find it so much mess. And also for cleaning the tin afterwards, so I prefer to use baking parchment. Right, hold on, let me just eyeball it. Just make a little, if you're making a cone shape like that, ooh, it comes out kind of round. Right, into the tin. Bada boom. And just check that it's mixed in, but this looks alright. Yum, yum, yum. Okay. Actually, it cooked quite well, my mixer with this cake. Hold on. Oh, there's a big bit of I just noticed there's a big bit of butter in there, so back we go. Never mind. Give it a wee bit longer. On again. Okay, I just gave it a wee pulse just to be sure. Not that I would mind getting a big lump of butter in mine, you know how I am about the teeth butter that we have here in Denmark. Right. Let's see. Yeah, this looks much better. Okay, into the tin. Whoa. Oh, hold on a minute, somebody at the door. Just hold on. Duke. Why does the doorbell always ring when I'm making these videos? Anyway, just getting everything out of the tin. Just scrape out as much as you can. Looks really good now. And tastes good too. What's not to love about butter and sugar and marzipan? Right. Oh, and in case anybody is thinking of the question and answer now, this you can freeze this cake, so it's really good to freeze, and also you can make it a couple of days in advance, and it sits really well. So that's why I'm making it today. Right. Okay. I guess who's going to get to lick the bowl? Mwah. Right, here we are. Put that one there so you can see. Oh, hold on, and I moved the camera when I went down to the door. Right, I'm just pushing the mixture out to the sides a wee bit, flattening it off. And that is going to go into the oven for about 45 minutes. But you know, it may vary where you are, you know, if you're on a high elevation or low elevation. Right, here we are, here's my wheat cake. And I'm going to put it into the oven, as I said, for about, if you start checking on it after 40 minutes, and let me just check here what I was saying. Yeah, about 45 minutes. And then when you take it out, you let it cool in the tin. Don't try and take it out because it is quite a heavy cake. Just let it cool completely in the tin. Anyway, I'm going to get mine into the oven. So, let me just put on the timer so I don't forget. Okay, I've got the timer on in the oven. Don't forget to set your timer when you put cakes in. I'm going to spend 5 minutes cleaning up here. Hold on, you haven't seen the mess that I've made, have you? There we are. I'm going to spend 5 minutes cleaning up here, and then I'm going to take my Flylady timer and I'm going to take a nap for 20 minutes. And then I'm going to come back, put on the kettle, have a cup of tea, and keep an eye on my cake. So anyway, I shall come back and talk to you when the cake is out of the oven. All right, so anyway, you go and do something nice as well. Okay, see you soon. Well, I had a nice little sleep. I've cleared up. I've got my cup of tea ready to go. I've just taken the cake out the oven. You know, the timer went off after 40 minutes. I can show you here, it's still kind of wobbly. And I've just done the test with the skewer. I'll do it again. And you can see there's still some mixture on the skewer. That I don't want that, because otherwise when I cut into the cake, you know, because there's so much butter and marzipan in it, it won't kind of cut nicely, it'll be undercooked. So I'm going to put it in for 5 minutes, and hopefully the next time you see it, it will be ready. Okay, so I'm going to stop here and have my cup of tea. Okay, the oven has just beeped again, so let's take a look. And just switch that off just now. Whew, it's hot like that. Okay, this looks, I think we're going to be good. You want it light brown, not too dark, and it doesn't look, let me just check. It should kind of bounce back when you put your fingers on it, but remember it's very hot, especially with all that sugar and marzipan. I'll use my skewer again and do another skewer test. Fine, and another one. Yeah, it's coming out clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let it, as I said before, let it cool in the tin. I'll put it on top of my wire rack. But let it cool in the tin, because it's, and otherwise it'll maybe lose its shape a bit. And then once it's fully cooled, there are two ways I like to go with it. Either just before it's fully cooled, I melt some chocolate, you know, it's just some dark chocolate. This is it, some Swedish stuff, Marzipan. And then, you know, I turn the cake upside down so it's got a nice flat, the flat bottom then becomes the top. And I just cover it in melted chocolate and then, you know, maybe add some finishing touches. Or what I'm going to do for this time when I'm serving it, because we're going to be having lots of chocolate and candy and other stuff, is I'm just going to dust it with icing sugar. I think you call it also confectioner's sugar, or flormelis as it's called in Danish. You know, the powdery stuff. But if you're going to use that, just remember to make sure that the cake is completely cooled, because if you try and put this on the cake now, it will warm it up and it'll just become like a glaze. So wait until it's completely cool, and that is what I'm going to do with mine. So anyway, I will upload this video, and when it's completely cool and decorated and whatever, I'll put the picture on Instagram, and I'll put a link to that in the video thing later. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed our little Danish Mazarinkage. Hope you'll have a go at it, and I'll tell you what our guests think of it. Okay, that's it for me, Diane in Denmark, in the kitchen. Live long and prosper.